Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sir.
Time, rise, please stand for prayer. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. In the name of Allah, the Magnificent, most merciful, King, the person of Master Prophet Muhammad, all who will praise are due. He's magnificent, most merciful, and the master of the judgment now live. Go on to his serve, don't break for aid, guys on the right path, not the path of the ways brought down. None of us straight after heard these teachings say he Allah is one God. Allah is independent, who we all depends, he never began and begotten. Nothing like him, not bear witness, and deserve to serve beside him. And I bear witness, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the last, praise the apostle of Allah. Amen.
Amen.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
In the name of Allah, the Magnificent, most merciful, who came the person of Master Prophet Muhammad, all the praise I do. And our dear leader, teacher, and guide, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is the last, greatest apostle of Allah. And I thank them. And I thank them like the brother in Gulf, Virginia said, Mr. Bartini. I just can't thank them so much because they show how much they really love us.
Yeah.
And we appreciate that. The great gift they give us. And as I come to you, I'll be the brothers and sisters that Arabic language of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sir.
It's good to see my brothers and sisters here today.
Yes, sir.
Good to see
So
you.
it is good to see the whole family is back again.
Yes, sir.
And it's a good, joyful day.
Yes, sir.
That we're all in the right location
Right.
on the planet Earth. Any Muhammad temple anywhere on this planet, they follow the teaching of the Muslim lives when we're in the right place.
Right.
Because it's a place for learning that we come to, knock at the door, you research for anything on you that should not be in the house of peace. It will be relinquished from you, or you have to leave yourself if you're not proper manner, not smell of a stench, not bringing in an alcohol way of behavior,
Right.
or the sisters might come dressed like she going to the go-go bar. It's not allowed here.
No, sir.
This is a place of decency.
Right.
This is a place that we must follow law and order.
Yes.
sir.
It's very important to have that. But you look at this society now, they're like, they don't want no law and order. They're like, they want wild, wild west.
Sure do.
And they can have it. I don't want to be here. And that time coming, but you can see it's going towards that.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the right place. It is a pleasure to be here living and see the time. It's prophecy in our face.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing.
Indeed.
Our dear master gave us great teachings and show us how to be aware of what's going on.
Yes, sir.
Why this happened. When it's happening, now it's happening. So as you come into the temple, it's not no church, no synagogue, or co-ed. It's the place that you come in, the brothers and sisters are separated.
Yes, sir.
And it's very important so you can pay attention, know what's going on.
Right.
Have something to talk about later on when you go home, or maybe a ride home in the vehicle.
Yeah.
You might have a question to ask. And like in that lecture that we do have, the teacher on the life will allow us to ask questions.
Yes, it does.
Once you end it, you are allowed. If you don't know, ask.
Yes, sir.
That's what we was taught when we were little children coming up. You don't know, you've been taught. So we have a great divine teacher that Allah Muhammad gave us so much that, the society don't appreciate it, but those behind closed doors do because they learn so much from it.
Yeah.
But it's not the glove fit for them, it's for us.
Right.
Like I said, anyone will grow from these teachings. Then after, when they come in, they see the setup, the brothers and sisters is divided. They'll see there's no band, no music, no choir. I'm not wearing no robe, no dress, nothing like that. Look at that, brothers. This is the image he gave us.
Yes, sir.
So you see us walking the street, that's a FYI, that's a Muslim. People know that.
Yes, sir.
They see the distinguish that we are different from others.
Right.
Because he is a divine teacher
Yes, it is.
of the messenger, because he chose him beyond anyone else. They give us this university, this temple. The last name they gave us is called temple, not no mosque. A mosque is somewhere you go that you can pray. Those all have higher learning already. But this is for our people because they don't have no higher learning. They are the blind, deaf, and dumb. And that's why he established this university for them to come here to learn who you really are.
Yes, sir.
Very important. Yeah, life matters. All life matters. Like I said, to the fishes, to the microbes, over to the other plants. Large Mama lets us know there's life form there. It all depends on the atmosphere of that planet. They gotta be exactly like us, but it is life.
Yes, sir. That's right.
And the same time you come to life, you must understand what life really is and what can help life to grow, to have a better understanding within itself of mind, to be as what it is. A tree is a tree, a dog is a dog, a human is a human. But now, with this is society, oh, praise to Allah. I ain't got too far to work this time. The secretary did a good job. But, all praise to the brother. But you know, Christianity is a man-made religion. And anytime you go into Muhammad temple, established by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you have to have this in there.
That's right.
This is the foundation. This is the 5 principles of Islam.
Right.
This is it right here.
Yeah.
Ain't no pillars. This is it. You can use it as a pillar. The dimension of it, if you go in mathematics and you build it, because like I said, this is everything.
Everything.
This is the universe where all things come from, all life again, going back to life, all come from.
Right.
Even God himself comes from this. It birthed him out of this. And like I said, you don't see that, get out of there. Second thing you don't see, our flag. Every nation have a flag
Correct.
that they must follow, our country. This is all given to us in 1930 by Master Farad Muhammad, God in person.
That's right.
Ain't no ghost walking up to someone and say, hey, I got this for you. That person probably running down the street and leave the flag right there. In reality, if you're thinking the way they want you to think, you know, but this is our flag, our national that we salute to. Oh, praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir.
That's our flag we fight for.
Right.
Our mighty nation, as Large Mama said. Islam is a way of life.
Indeed.
It's an attitude. When you look at it, this board and see Islam, and you see this beautiful background of our sun and flag represent red, and justice is star, and moons and equality. That's what society is missing over here.
Yeah.
They want to slave us up indefinitely, but give us nothing but a cross for us, Constantine. You keep it all crossed up so you don't know where the hell you're going. Choke the life out of your ain't from your brains. So you keep you away from this. That was a game plan.
Yeah.
Go way back, 6,000 years.
Think about that.
And after 2,000 years in the cage, they lost when they came out, they went and did their thing. Stand from the hillside, looking down, watching the black nation just living, enjoying life, and they're grunting, with no clothes on, What they're really saying, they want some of this.
Yeah.
They want this. Yaqub promised them this. Cross them up. Let's conquer and kill in this sign. And that's what they did. Like I said, this cross and sign and this religion killed more people on the planet in a war that fought.
That's right.
This is the things they don't want to teach in school and university under the teachings of them. This blue represents the falsehood. That's the teachings they give in the school. The 50 stars in this flag represent students and peoples and states who they fly to. Keep them trapped in this system. Keep them away from the light of the sun.
Right.
So when I shine on them, so he want to keep them always in the dark. Like I said, this is a boy, it's a heavy boy.
Yes, indeed.
This is heavy teaching here. This is understand Elijah Muhammad. This is his vision, what God gave him, that he passed it down to us.
Right.
So we'll understand which one will win the war of Armageddon when the time comes. Even Jesus said himself, he don't know when the day and time when this all gonna fall down. No man don't know, even the angels don't know. So he gets to live his heaven on earth, the devil. Me, the white race.
Yes, sir.
So you can see he's living his heaven on earth because he caused nothing but bloodshed everywhere he goes. He used his false wisdom that he stole from us. It's the white representing him and his higher learning to mislead the people in the teaching of his falsehood that he allowed them to go to his university to get documents to order to carry on this teaching to keep our people in a trap, like you see in this falsehood of this flag of the 50 stars in there. Now it's supposed to be 51 coming up next. Represent lies. When in reality, if you go up to the sky 35,000 feet or higher, you'll notice that it starts getting dark.
How about that?
This is just a reflection again from our sun.
Yeah.
They give you the reflection of the blue if you see you walking on solid ground.
Yeah.
In the affirmative. It's the firmament. It's the heaven on earth. Not up in the sky, floating on no cloud or beyond the space, and don't know where you're going, no direction, anything. Lies. Again. That's why I love to teach so much, because it just gives you so much, and there's so much you can elaborate on. There's so much you can go into.
Yes, it is.
You know, this is a history book,
It is.
a standard, a principle, an uplifting divine cause that he said, my life and death is all for love.
That's
And
right.
we will fight and die for. This is serious.
Yes, sir.
This is serious time
Yes,
Indeed, it is.
upon us. Every day we leave our household, we pray. Riding down the road, we pray.
Yeah.
Going in the store, you pray.
Pray, definitely.
Buying the food, you pray.
Pray too.
Coming out the store to put the stuff in the vehicle, you got to pray. It's just dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, you can't take your eye off anything.
No.
That's right.
Always on
You
that.
mean you got to be paying attention all times. Like the word said, be
Always
vigilant of your surroundings.
Always on
The
that.
circumference, going back to the planets, and the stars, and the moon, and the sun. It's law. It's doing this thing all the time. It don't stop. As on top right now, the earth is doing this.
Yeah.
It's just spinning 1,130 miles per hour. You don't even feel it. It's just so smooth. It's just spinning. It's spinning as you go all through life. That's a beautiful law.
Yes, it is.
To understand the principle that a micro is something you can't even see.
Yeah.
It's powerful. That's the atom. It's powerful. That you can combine together and make something. Spark something. Spark life.
Yeah.
A principle. A standard. And growth. Because everything from that is going to grow to something as long as you have the content of the code, they call it,
Code.
of it to make it. Because it takes, again, a sun, germinate life. Or matter, it takes heat to cause steel to iron to whatever that you want to make. Or take wood to make heat to make fire. Man, I tell you,
Nice.
it's beautiful. All praise to Allah.
Yes, sir.
And this sky conquered 9/10 of the planet. They're given the command to do that. They're going all over the whole planet, every continent, country. Kill. Steal and rob.
Yeah.
Sometimes annihilate the whole continent of the people who living on the island, ain't left no one. but himself. The ones he did left, he planted his seed into them. When they're called conqueror, when they're called booty, when they went into other nations and conquered, they planted seed in them. Because during that time, there wasn't no racism around. It was not with the black, brown, yellow, red people, there was no racism around. Well, nobody hated on nobody because of their color.
No.
He came along and called an opera,
Yeah, all
this
gone.
European man, outside of the square again, black, brown, yellow, red, ain't nowhere.
No, the odd fella.
He's the new kid on the block. They came and caused all this problem
Yes, sir.
because of jealousy, hate. Then it took one of our scientists who went against the law itself and made him. He started all this. But you can carry back 66 trillion years back, how the moon got here. It's from the planet Earth. It ain't just made itself up. The moon come from the earth, the teaching life how to give us.
Yes, sir.
Because one of us again went against his own righteous self and caused this another problem 66 trillion years ago. That was not taught to me in school, or no one from a university of higher learning didn't even know this. All this teaching comes from Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
And where did he get it from?
God.
Not by himself. When they say come from a third grade education, ain't no way a third grader can do this. Not by himself.
Not by himself.
So that means you have to have a teacher to come and teach you
Oh.
divine teaching of life itself, of creation. And he made it clear, like Moses said, face to face, he talked with God. Even Abraham said, I talked with God face to face, because when God came and visited him, he was with two other people who escorted God to Abraham. And Abraham saw God and said, come on in. I will get my wife to wash your feet. Are you hungry? Do you want something to drink? Well, that tell you that. That's a human being.
Yeah.
That's a person.
Gotta be.
Got to be. That's a person. Come and have a seat. What ghost you gonna say that to? You ain't gonna be around and say anything like that, no ghost. So that's a bunch of lies they're giving us and feeding us in this teaching and misleading the people. 666 degrees of this teachings. Now today, who knows how many thousand maybe, who knows? It's all confusion.
Yes, sir.
And they get off on that. Misleading the people. You can see it among your own people, your own family in the streets. They let you know corona is real. They don't want to wear no mask. They don't want to, just don't want to do right. But I'm letting you know to make it of the devil.
Yeah.
Just letting you know who he is.
Yes, sir.
Through the history, it's qualified to give you truth.
Yeah.
That reveal this man of sin, he said.
Yeah.
The man of sin. You got a lot of our own people fall behind this man of sin. Hate to see his own brother rise to the occasion of truth under Islam. But he won't get mad with his brother because he changed his life. And don't want to see his brother change the way because he wants something better for himself and his people. So you got another, your own people against that.
Yeah.
Want to continue to keep this lie up because the breakup of the old world.
Exactly.
He want to keep that.
Keep it going.
He loved that. He loved confusion. He loved crumbs on the table. He don't want to do nothing for himself or for his nation or his people. He don't want you to keep your substitute to the enemy. Have you bowing down, crying, begging. Like you see now in Washington, D.C., here in America, North America.
Yes, sir.
They can't even go in Congress. They can't go into the Congress and pass a law that allow the people still have food, be able to pay the bills, be able to survive.
Yeah.
This, matter of fact, this corona design is corrupting the whole global planet.
Think about that.
causing a problem over the whole planet, Earth, with this corona. Messing with commerce and trade.
Yeah.
Because everybody's trading.
Yeah.
What you get, I want some of that, you trade with this, you get with this, I want gold, I want metal, I want
Right.
wood,
Yes, sir.
I want coal, I want oil, I want cocaine. You know, just all kind of stuff. You know, because cocaine you make is medicine.
Yeah.
Cocoa from Africa.
Yeah. Hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate, yes sir. Herbs, tea from India.
Yeah.
You know, Australia. Aboriginal people, when they went there and conquered there with the England. I mean, they slaughtered a whole lot of these Aboriginal people there.
Mm-hmm.
Just take their land from them. But that's something we cannot forget.
No.
We were studying that class today, and when you look at this world map, this is falsehood itself.
Sure is.
This is a lie right here. Because Africa should be
Bigger.
way bigger than all this. Then you can take most all the continent just about and fit inside Africa.
I love that.
I didn't know that. School didn't teach me this.
They want to teach you
This
that.
comes from the teacher online let us know how big Africa really is, a continent. And when they went in and conquered it, they divided, you got Liberty, you got Egypt, you got Sudan, you got Kenya, you got South Africa. They just went there and just did a number on our people.
Really?
Because they hate what they saw, us being happy. Following the teachings. Islam, mathematics, righteousness,
Yes, sir.
goodness, builders, teachers,
Yeah.
scientists,
Mm-hmm.
physics in all ways. And you should come over here to learn from our people first before they even came to America or China. Even China and other folks used to come to Africa to get their higher learning.
Yeah.
Even for the Indian, even to the martial arts. When Dalmont left India and come train with the African brothers, he trained into a martial art. And he took it over to China. And that's when they came Buddha and monks. They didn't know how to fight. They don't tell these people these things. This is real history.
Yes, sir.
Real black history.
Yes.
Facts.
Yeah.
Mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
You must have. And what he did, he just dissected us. Took this away from us and got us dumbed down.
Yeah.
That's his teachings.
Yes, sir.
Dumb down the people, dumb down the world so I can do anything I want to do to these countries. I don't care you're hungry, I don't care you're homeless, they don't care.
They don't care.
If the people can't see that now, I just don't understand.
They just don't want to see.
How you gonna walk around
That's right.
with an American flag and you don't got nowhere to live? Something's wrong with this picture. You know, this is, I mean, blind, deaf, and dumb. This is real. You know, I'll sit down and be watching these things. You know, and just get more into the teaching and just carry me over. Like I said, when the minister come up, he's gonna carry us more deep into
Yes, sir.
the ocean. Like you see the, what do you call it, the trench. How it's like 5 or 6, 7 miles deep into the ocean.
Yeah, the depth.
And keep the power of the ocean.
The depth.
When the minister, he's gonna carry you all the way down to the depths. Where they got fish with the lights on their heads.
Yeah.
You know where they going.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Atlantic Ocean, and then the Pacific Ocean, still they have that 7 mile deep trench. They have like 7 miles mountains underwater
Yeah.
in the Pacific Ocean.
Yes, sir.
So you understand why you have the Hawaiian Islands and stuff, because everything is made from the volcano.
Yeah.
It push-ups. Again, science. Again, matter. From the earth core, they push up these precious minerals and produce plantains. They have a part of life itself by pumping air into the atmosphere.
Think about that.
They work with the tree, with the rainforest. This is a teaching like Muhammad Gee why we must know this, because this is our planet. This is our science.
Yes, sir.
This is how he can build his world by only 2 books was given to them. 2 books. how to build, live, and technology. They keep the people cross up.
Yes, Moses gave
That's why this is a history. This is a history book.
the universe.
You got to know how to connect the dots. Muhammad teaches how to connect the dots. Where they go,
Yes, sir.
how to go about it. Everything have a standard. Everything have a place where everything comes from the zero. It was there, but everything comes from the zero.
Yes, sir.
Subconscious. Then you have your decimal.
Mm-hmm.
And from that decimal all the way to 9,
Uh-huh.
you can create any number
Yes, sir.
out of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
They call it urban numeric system.
Numerical.
Yes, sir. How to calculate time and space.
Mm-hmm.
Like the sisters of the 1968, 67, 66, where they helped the brother to America get to the moon and orbit around the planet.
Hidden figures.
Hidden figures. Again, calculation, numbers. These are, again, black people, black sisters, how they are very important too.
Yes, sir.
Without a nation, you must have your money. To be able to produce you,
Right.
so you can carry on this.
Mm-hmm.
Like the word said, pass down to father, the son is the learner of it, and plus you must teach her to, just in case something happen to you in battle or die or natural cause.
Mm-hmm.
She still had a learning to teach to the children,
Right.
male or female.
Yes, sir.
Not how it was the old world where there was dumping these young ladies off and, you know, just no respect
Right.
of life, going back to life again. How dumb can you get that you want to kill off your women? How you gonna produce yourself?
Crazy.
How you gonna go on? That's retarded.
Yes, sir.
And they have, you know, people here in America think that that's the teacher of Islam. No, it's not. Look, these are their falsehood over here too.
Yeah.
It's a certain order going on, groups, corruption, all over the planet of selling their soul for greed, profit, and to touch every continent on this planet Earth. Why? They don't want truth.
That's right.
But I'm not the main speaker today. The main speaker will be our minister, Islam, Kamau, 24 out of Richmond. Gonna care a lot deep into the teachings. One of my mentors that I look up to, listen to, pay attention to. So as I came and greet you, give him a great round of applause. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, sir.
Before continuing, I want to thank Brother Captain Hakeeme Muhammad for bringing forth the life-giving teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that which we need to know and understand and implement so that we as a people will be beneficiaries of all that God has promised us through his messengers and prophets throughout
right.
Scripture. Because he said that if my people will refrain from their wicked ways or the ways that they have been trained in by an enemy and accept my way of life, they will be living in prosperity forever.
That's right.
And we thank Allah for offering us this, and we definitely are accepting what he has offered us through his message. So let's give Brother Captain once again another round of applause. Continue on with Mr. Muhammad's teaching. And when I was looking at this subject that's found in the Message to the Black Man in America, and we have it on the board, the breakup of the old world. Mr. Muhammad took a subject similar to this and was found in the old Muhammad Speaks paper, and that was called The Fall and Breakup of the Old World. Both subjects deal with the situation at hand. But we, as a people in America, have been so caught up under the white man's death style. We don't seem to know and understand what time we're living in, nor what must be done in this day and time. As Brother Captain Hakeeme brought up before myself, going into some of the study of our creation, the universe itself. We learn when we first come into the temple who originated all. The man of origin. That's the first question. Who is the original man? So that word original has as a root part of it origin. Who is the man of origin? Origin of who and origin of what? Origin of himself. God himself. You know, they said that when Moses was given a job a few thousand years ago in Egypt, they say, and the God of that time told Moses, you go and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. Moses didn't seem confident on his own to stand up against Pharaoh. But when he got confidence, it came when the God instructed him what to do. And then Pharaoh tried to bounce back against the message that Moses brought to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh wanted to know, well, I'm bad, I'm big and boastful, and I got it all going on. Who is this that's telling you to give a message to me? Moses had to go back. He said, well, I told him what you said, but he's got a few reservations about the message I conveyed to you. So the God told Moses, you tell him this. He ain't got no comeback against this. And what was it that the last thing that Moses told Pharaoh that he got from God? He said, you tell Pharaoh, I am that I am. But people say, oh, this must be the man. Because Pharaoh, they claim, was so powerful, and they claimed that he had a lots of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that he drew from understanding properties of the sun. White folks always tell us, oh, you know, those Egyptians, they were sun worshippers. No, they weren't sun worshippers. But they studied the cosmos and the creation. But here it is, little Moses goes back to tell Pharaoh that which you are studying, that which you are trying to find an understanding of, you know that I am you talking about? He said, I am that I am. So Pharaoh said, uh-oh, I got some on my hands now. And before he got whipped all the way, the message said Pharaoh even had to bear witness.
That's right.
Allah is the greatest.
That's right.
He said Pharaoh was going down. He said what? Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Now the Honorable Muhammad is telling us about an old world that's falling and breaking up. Now, there was one that fell and broke up a few thousand years ago called Babylon. That was only a sign. The message said this is the real deal.
Right.
Because this is the one the scripture talks about in the book of Revelation called
Great.
Mystery. Babylon the Great.
That's right.
That's deep. First, people didn't know where it was. but they knew it was similar to the old Babylon, but this one was put on a higher pedestal than the ancient Babylon. They give you history of what happened to ancient Babylon, that it was so low down and wicked and deceitful. It started off not as Babylon, but it started off as Babel. And then he said, they started building their civilization up and up. The more and more they built it up, the higher they got, the less they understood of what was happening inside the hellhole. Brother Captain mentioned a while ago. Look at so-called America. Well, America is not so-called, but look at America. A time who has come and gone. And she talked about being a superpower. Won't even allow people to have enough money to take care of their basic needs. We're not talking about the junk they want. We're talking about food, clothing, and shelter. Some of them say, well, you can't go out here and just have not just a pandemic. They said it might even mushroom into epidemic. They said, well, let the people stay home until this thing get under control. But yet when the doctors and the scientists try to get things under control, the leadership blocks the scientific development of the doctors and the scientists. The doctor said this, and the leadership says something opposite of what the doctor said. Who's right and who's wrong? People should try to go with the science, because we learn in our lessons coming from Allah, Master Muhammad, if you're going to be civilized, you got to be taught certain things. To be civilized means to be taught what? The science of everything in life. You might not know all the minute details, but you got the basic science. When Master Muhammad set up the first school system, based on the wishes of Allah, Master Muhammad, the University of Islam, started in Detroit and Chicago. The brother who was one of the principals of the first school, he gives a history of what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad instructed. He said they didn't have hardly any textbooks, had about 30 students, and he said, the message stated, we'll take 2 hours a day during the week for school to be held. Students can go 2 hours a day. Wasn't long. You couldn't get too much done in those 2 hours. But then the message says, teach them the basics. People today talking about what? Read, write, arithmetic. If you can read, you can kind of understand. If you can write, you can sign your name on the dotted line. And if you got arithmetic, you can count. And white man didn't want us to know none of that, because when he saw our people were trying to be a dirt farmer and come up all the conditions that he put us in, counting behind him, selling our crops, and he never wanted to say we made enough money to own a piece of land that we were sharecropping on. He had a slogan, don't you do that, you don't figure behind me, nigga. Because he wanted to be the master of everything as concerned intelligence. But now, we are in the fall and the breakup of an old world, and the subject of the message of the black man, the breakup of the old world. Message talks about, in the message of the black man, the book in the Bible in the Old Testament called the book of Joel. Joel wrote about what would happen when the old world fell apart. In this article in the Muhammad Speaks paper, when he talked about the fall and breakup of the old world, the message gives us a picture of what Daniel saw. Daniel was a prophet. Daniel had a vision. Daniel was connected to the first breakup, which is what? The kingdom of ancient Babylon.
That's right.
And they said that the Babylonians were so evil and low down and degenerate, they couldn't stand righteous people. And they looked over in a certain part of the earth, and they saw a city that was built based on righteousness. Jerusalem. We got in our lessons from the Savior. Jerusalem was built by the black man.
That's right.
It was called Jebus, Ariel, and Selah. Founded in peace. Founded in Islam.
That's right.
But yet, the invading Babylonians came out of their old wicked kingdom, took the vessels out of Jerusalem. Not a wine goblet or something you drink out of, but the precious people, the original black people, hauled them out of Jerusalem and filled them with wine. Not like that, but like they did us. Took us away from our homeland, hauled us across the Atlantic Ocean,
Right.
and they have saturated our people with wine.
Yes, sir.
Drunkenness. Not just the liquor they go to the store to get,
That's right.
but the white man's civilization, his religion. Brother mentioned some time ago, white folks even tell you about the religion, why it was set up. To cement and forming ignorance.
That's right.
Henry Bird stated they wanted to make sure that they had this thing down pat. Shut off every avenue by which light could enter into our ancestors' minds. He said, what? They wanted to reduce us to the level of a brute beast.
That's right.
Low down. Four-legged animal. They live on that level because that's what they are by nature. But they don't have the intellectual power of human beings. And that's what the white man said. We can keep them here, but white folks will always be on the top, and we would always be on the bottom. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is giving us a history of the breakup of the old world. The world of what? The world of what? The world of slavery, suffering, and death. And the new world is the world that's coming in, the world of freedom, justice, and equality.
Yes, sir.
Now, we talked about the universe a little bit because there's so much here in this board. The design of our universe. Planets revolve around suns. We know we are in the Milky Way galaxy, and the sun that we have is 853,000 miles in diameter. But it's 93 million miles away from planet Earth.
Right.
But we got 9 planets that revolve around this sun. That's not the whole universe.
No.
That's the universe of life. You got outer space filled with millions of galaxies of sun. These are what the scientists of this world say. Black, brown, red, and yellow, they all agree. There are many outer galaxies that are filled with millions of galaxies of sun. Outer space. There are many solar systems among these millions of galaxies. That's all that. Many suns. We call them stars. Many moons. Then you got an inner space that's filled with more countless solar systems. We got a universe that's built of solar systems. Some big, some small. But as the guy said years ago, who was a jazz singer, you try to make it real compared to what?
Right.
So you got to have something made. If you say this is big, you got to use some standard to call that big as opposed to this being small.
That's right.
Some comparison. Mr. Muhammad breaks it on down to where we are, our home planet Earth. And this is where he's talking about the breakup of the old world. You got all kinds of worlds out here. When you look at dictionary definitions. Sometimes they say the world means the universe. Sometimes when they talk about the world, they talk about the cosmos. You know, the Soviets call their space explorers cosmonauts. The Americans call theirs astronauts. Well, they named it based on what you could see from the first planet from the sun, which is Mercury, moving on outward to the Earth and Mars. That's the first four. You get that inside of what you call the asteroid belt. That's where we are. And then you get on the other side of the asteroid belt, you get the other planets, Jupiter and Saturn, all the other stuff. But nevertheless, when you talk about a world, you got to pinpoint what you're talking about. Then they give a definition of a world as the Earth, the whole planet Earth. Sometimes they call a world the habitat of a species on the planet. Undersea world. Birds in the air, you know. But we're talking about the fall and breakup of the world on the planet Earth. Now when Mr. Muhammad talked about this one and showed us this picture of Daniel's vision, Daniel was over there in the old world of Babylon. Not Babylon the Great. We are in Babylon the Great. He was in ancient Babylon. And they said when they first dragged them into Babylon, the children of Israel, they stayed a long time. Because the first king they talk about as being great was known as Nebuchadnezzar. And then another king, some say grandson, some say great, but it had to be a long period of time for the children of Jerusalem, Israel, to be in that kingdom under those wicked leaders. But at the time, this old Babylon was falling. The leadership couldn't see it was crumbling. So the king called forth the soothsayers, the astrologers. They're doing the same thing today. What can they do to mend their wicked kingdom? They called poor Martin Luther King with the civil rights movement. In fact, they groomed him and put him there. And they realized that after they killed him, our people still were not satisfied. White people were not satisfied. Come along a little later on, they said, well, civil rights movement is necessary to kind of rectify the situation that America had gotten herself in. John Lewis came out of this movement, young boy. They say he was the youngest one to speak on the March on Washington back in the 1960s. And they said, well, he's going to carry on the legacy of King. Let him go to Washington, D.C., and let him become a member of the House of Representatives and work with the government. Because this idea of integration has to be worked on black people to deceive us so that white folk could continue to do what they're doing. It didn't start with King, but the white man knew we were been here for 400 years and God was coming to bring us salvation. He didn't want us to have salvation. He wanted to keep us under his damnation.
That's right.
So the Bible said 400 years was all the time we had to serve these white folks. Because when God comes, he bring you something that will get you to stepping away from your slave master and never look back.
Yes, sir.
He gives you what? Freedom, justice, equality, money, good homes, friendships in all walks of life, and love, peace, and happiness. A lot of people just looked at it and sniffed it. Smell good. I don't know if I want it or not. We talked a little bit about it this morning in the class. Some people who visited the messenger sat at his table, ate dinner with him. And they thought they were moving on up, finally getting a piece of the pie. You know how the Jeffersons said. But anyway, Muhammad Ali was sitting there, bragging and boasting. about white folk giving him a few $1,000s for a major fight. And when the master heard that, the master said, is that all that devil's gonna offer you? And for all you're gonna do for him and his people? You go and tell that devil you want millions. All I need first. He know what you're talking about. So he went there and told the white man, no, you ain't gonna give me a few $1,000. You gotta give me some millions of dollars for this fight. The white man told Muhammad Ali at first, no. Muhammad Ali hung his head and got in his car, go back home. Soon he got home, the phone rang, and the white man said, yeah, I'm gonna give you millions. No black man had ever gotten millions of dollars for any kind of sporting play. Even though the black man who nearly beat white folks to a pulp, he didn't get that kind of money. Hundreds of thousands, baby. But here it is, after the messenger opened the door up for our people to see, because Pharaoh, as he did in ancient Egypt, he didn't think Moses had nobody backing him. But when Moses came and said, tell him, I am that I am. You ever heard of that I am? Well, that I am, that's who I am. So Pharaoh had to straighten up. Same way today. And then all these so-called Negroes who never made no money doing nothing for white folks get big money, top dollar, in the sports arena. And then the new leader of America, he wants to bust all that up. But he said, y'all better not take a knee, because I'm going to wipe it on out. So it shows you the old world Babylon and the new world Babylon. Now, Daniel told King Nebuchadnezzar what it was all about. The soothsayers couldn't tell him. All these craft people, he told them, he got so mad, according to the Bible, the Old Testament, he said, well, y'all better stop playing with me. He said, because if you keep playing with me, I will cut off your hands on both sides. Not necessarily just, you might have done that too, but the works. Whatever you're trying to do, I know you're lying to me. It is not answering my dream. What was the dream that old Nebuchadnezzar had? Nebuchadnezzar thought that when he had a vision or a dream, he saw a wall, a great big old wall. He didn't know where it was located. And he saw handwriting on the wall. And so every time when he would try to even get some rest, the picture came up in his head again. What is this? Then he looked at some of those who were in his captivity, who came out of that holy city called Jerusalem, and Daniel was among those people. Called Daniel on down to interpret the dream. So according to the Bible, and the white man don't want to put that in plain, straight up English, he put it in a Latin terminology. Mene, mene. I mean what? Your kingdom, Mr. King of Babylon, has been weighed in the balance. I guess he knew what the balance was, he didn't know who the I am was. And it has been found wanting. It don't add up. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad broke it down to us in 1972, what the balance is. Because he said that from the zero comes one.
That's right.
Allah came and produced himself in the balance from the zero.
That's right.
And the message said the zero is not completely right. It's more like Alma, H-E, right? He said that's how God did it in the beginning. And he told us why. He says because he left work for some other man, not just one man,
Right.
but throughout the eons of time, because the universe is so structured that when you make those motions, those revolutions, those rotations, those flips, adjustments have to be made. And you got to have some original scientists who observe all this. And we talked about them all the time, even in the church, and people didn't know who they were talking about. They say, I want to go to heaven, I want to meet the 20 and the 4. Well, who were the 24? He said the 24 elders. We in Islam, we said the 24 signs. Because we got 12 major and we got 12 minor.
That's right.
They gather the work as they assess the motion of our planet and what's going on. And then one from amongst the 11 major, who is the God of the time, he assesses what they have gathered and makes the determination what will go forward for the next 25,000 years and what will not. These are the wise men. And they said Prophet Jesus came across that order called the order of Melchizedek. An order that had no beginning nor end. And Messiah Muhammad says, wise black men on the planet Earth have never lost sight of the time. So when this breakup takes place, the scientists are on the money. Messiah Muhammad says, some people say, well, how you know so much about Messiah Muhammad? Messiah Muhammad said, I don't say I am one of them. He says, but the way Allah, Master Muhammad taught him, he said, I can surely entertain.
Yes, sir.
All praise to Allah and Muhammad. And we are happy to be students of the one who can entertain all of them.
Yes, sir.
Because Allah taught the messenger to teach us what we need to know so we can continue to grow and develop. Now, one of his sayings, he said, you know, we are in a day of learning. He said, and if we don't learn, we will be left behind.
That's right.
The history of the nation, we know, they didn't want the messenger in this day and time. One brother said years ago, Muhammad is like a little Daniel in the lion's den. We are over here in modern day Babylon, and the other Daniel was in ancient Babylon. So this king must have been Belshazzar by then, because Nebuchadnezzar was probably gone.
Right.
The grandson, the other one. So it came to fruition what was happening. He didn't necessarily lack the truth that was being told, but he knew that what the prophet Daniel said was right and exact. Another kingdom comes in on ancient Babylon, defeats it, and what happens to the children of Israel? They are returned back to Jerusalem. But they're not in the shape they were before they left, because it's been altered a lot. The message says that Allah's job, when his father Alfonso told him to go around the world, collect us and get us back on our post, people in the circle didn't particularly care, but since they had messed it up, they had no choice. So they had to step back and let Alfonso do his thing.
Right.
So he told his son, you're going to be ready to go and find members of your family from my brother's side. And we got a lesson. My name is W.F. Muhammad. Came to North America by myself, searching for my uncle. His father's brother's people were over here in hell. And they wanted to boot us off the circle 50,000 years ago. Because they didn't want to go along with the best knowledge,
Right.
so we could all be strong. They said they were all right. We laid back. We don't see no need for no improvement. You can make your man, but
Don't
don't
make
make
it
him.
in. That's right.
So we took the best part of the earth ever since we made it, and that's what they call what? Africa
That's right.
and Arabia and Egypt. All these places, the white man don't want to call Egypt a part of Africa. He wants to cut it off and put it somewhere else. But even like the brother said, when you look at how they draw the picture on the map, how small they make the continent. Try to make everything else. Here's a block of ice. They try to make that the biggest thing on the planet Earth. And America ain't too far behind it with all the crap she got going in Canada. Another block of ice. But nevertheless, the message opens up in this way. He says, according to the changes of civilization by Allah and his messengers, from Moses to this day, and the last messenger. That's himself. The resurrection and return of the lost and found mentally dead members of the aboriginal people of the earth, the black nation. When is it? It's now. Oh, I thought that happened back from ancient. No. The brother said, there you go starting again. No. The message says, according to all that Allah has presented, and what the messengers have been given from Allah, from Moses to the current messenger, the Elijah Muhammad. The time for this change and the resurrection of the lost found members of the Aboriginal nation is now. You know, a lot of people don't like that. The Jew who calls himself a precious one, even the Bible said he's not.
Not the one.
He's of the synagogues of Satan,
That's
and
right.
he does lie.
Yes, sir.
God comes called the Son of Man. But what is the reaction of the people all over the planet Earth? Nations mourn,
That's right.
infidels get angry, and heathens go into a rage. Nobody wants the prophecy to be fulfilled.
That's right.
The small book in the New Old Testament called Habakkuk. Habakkuk
3 chapters.
saw something going along, 3 small chapters. He said he saw God coming from Tema and the Holy One coming from Mount Paran. He stopped talking about the God from Tema, he keeps
Right.
talking about the Holy One. He measured this, he did this, he traveled here. Cushion in affliction, representing us. There was a program my wife and I we saw last Sunday, it's been on TV before, a documentary. They talk about the black pharaohs in the 25th dynasty, not Egypt, but the lands above Egypt, where our people were. And they influenced the Egyptians. And most of the Egyptians got their basic knowledge from the original Asiatic black man of these areas. And they said that white folks had learned about these pharaohs, documented some of the history, and this white boy was going behind his brother. He wanted to know, well, he's pinpointing the places I'm traveling in, why didn't he mention some of these things here? He didn't want them to know, he wanted to keep the truth hid, covered up.
That's right.
Then they said, they thought it was just a small area that our people governed. They said they governed all down there, even down into the Mediterranean, down into Jerusalem. Set up all kinds of sophisticated systems. And the white man wants to take credit for everything. Talk about Hannibal, who got on the elephants with his army, and they came through the Alps to attack Europe, not because they want to fight Europe, they just want Europe to stay out of their business.
That's right.
Every time you look, here's some cave people coming in here, messing up good, righteous civilization. Just get them out here. Like Trump talking about building a wall, and they want to build something to get the bells out there. Okay, now, let's go into the subject a little bit before we conclude. The Elijah Muhammad talks about it's on page 266 in Message to the Black Man in America. Here we are. Okay, now he's saying that today we live at the end of the world of people who have ruled the black man and his various colors between black and white for the last 6,000 years. That's simple. They have not just ruled the original black man, but the various colors.
That's right.
Brown,
Red,
yellow, red. White men won't be in everybody's business.
That's right.
There was an interview that the messenger gave to the devil, and the devil didn't know the messenger knew all that history. He said, well, Mr. Muhammad, well, what about all these wars and killings that were going on the planet Earth? The messenger said, we didn't have that before you and your kind got on our planet. The devil, he didn't shut up and talk. Because the messenger told him the truth. He said, how did he know this? He must be from God to know this. Because everything that they had done to dumb down everybody, black, brown, red, and yellow, they didn't figure nobody could come up with what they had done and explain how evil and conniving they are.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Muhammad says people recently, the last century, among the black, brown, red, and yellow got together to discuss the white man. So he's not a part of the circle or the square.
Right.
He calls himself what he is, the odd fellow. He does not belong.
That's right.
And the message says the civilized societies of black people have agreed with one another that the white race
That is
is
true.
disagreeable to
That's
live
true.
with in peace.
That's right.
If you don't know it by now, Brother Captain said you never know. So some of us pretend not to know. So why is the breakup of the old world transpiring? When I looked at the two articles, the one in the Muhammad Speaks is talking about the fall and breakup of the old world, and the one in Mr. the Black Man, the breakup of the old world. The fall and breakup of the old world deals with Daniel's vision in the kingdom of ancient Babylon,
Right.
and how it fell. White folk had not even gotten together at the fall of the old one, their own language system, according to the white scholars, because they say that what you call the thing they got on there called Babel, they said this is how you can learn the various languages, French, Spanish, English. Learn real easy, because there's a connection between all the languages. Get your Babel so you can learn these languages. B-A-B-E-L. But it morphed from being Babel to the Tower of Babel, and then the kingdom of Babylon. And this is what you see in the Old Testament in the book of Genesis. It says, when men began to multiply on the face of the planet Earth. Men have always multiplied, men and women. How could you have civilization without
That's right. That's right.
But they're going to talk about a certain people began to multiply. The sons of God, you
Right.
got black men looking out of these white women coming out the caves, saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, looking different, took them on as wives. And now you got a new type people coming on. You got first a seaman, 50-50, and then you got mixtures and mixtures, you get Semitic.
Semitic, that's right.
And this is the time in which the Semitic civilization was set there because something had to be done to bring in the white race into rulership. Don't they tell us in the Bible, Jacob built a ladder, and on the ladder you saw angels who were up there, coming down, the ones down, going up. Never had that before, you never needed that before. But if the white world is going to come in, you got to have
That's right.
a certain type of people to bring in the white world. You couldn't put a caveman in there. You know, you got to educate and train somebody to carry on the white man's world.
Moses
So you
was
had
doing-
these people who were members of the black nation and members of the white race cohabitating to build this
This
new
new
world.
world, that's right.
But the new world, and the Bible says, as it grew and grew and grew, people didn't understand the language. Isn't that what's happening today?
That's right.
Mr. Muhammad says the southern white man was upset with the northern white man. But one day he would agree, the trick y'all playing up there, we can use that same trick down here in the south. But right after the Civil War, they had nothing to do with nothing like that. But integration, now they say it's the thing of the day and the night. They'll jump in there with Black Lives Matter. You think they care about Black Lives Matter? No, they don't. They'll use their slogan just to do their thing.
True.
They use what they call civil rights to get the gays, the lesbians, and the homos in there on the white side.
That's
They
right.
said because you done opened the door for the white folks who had to take a back seat, come on up front now. I was talking to a brother not too long ago. He said he had applied years ago when the white folks had these things out here talking about minority applications accepted. He said, and the white folks told him, well, yours on file. He said, why it takes so long for it to come to the forefront? Well, we got all these applications in front of you. You wanna know who in front of you? They said, well, the white woman is a minority, and she can step in front of you and open up her business with the money that you thought that was gonna be given to a black person, you know? And then not only was the white woman a minority, then you get the lesbians, the dykes, the gays, the homos, all the other stuff. And by the time they get up there, the black man is still being pushed in the back.
That's right.
But yet he's still singing, we
We
shall
shall.
overcome someday. Don't know when, why, or how. It seems like instead of overcoming, our people have been undergoing.
That's right. Overcome.
Right. The fall and breakup of the old world. Now, this article, the message was dealing with the statue that Daniel saw. Now, this was the head of gold. This is the breast of silver and the feet of married clay. And the message explained this so thoroughly because we read and the preachers have read in the scripture, but they don't know because the white man don't teach it. A lot of them don't know. But the message says, at one time, the gold had been captured by America when she had millions of dollars worth of gold in the Kentucky hills. We call it Fort Knox. Okay. And America represented the gold standard. She's no longer on the gold standard. She's been off that for years.
On the ink standard now.
And England was on the silver standard. And the legs represent the working people of the world. And the working people of the world had to take all their monies and stuff, which they're doing today, feed it to the head part of the statue. And even though white folks brag about being millionaires and billionaires, and they might be headed for trillionaires now, but where do they get the money? A few years ago, before this white boy left the Congress, and they played the trick on the people, he was so happy he could transfer all them millions and millions and billions of dollars from the working people to the top, 1%. He hit the gavel so hard, I'm gonna broke the gavel, then fell off the podium, you know. And then Trump came back later on, gotta get some more money. Because it's moving out so fast. Money ain't worth nothing more. A dollar is worth less than 6 or 7 cents of its original value. So what can you buy with it? The average person now who said they want to make $15 an hour, they've been talking about that for years. And they might not ever get up to it, because really the value now should be about $30 an hour. That's really what, if you go from 1965, 68 on up to now, and you try to get the equivalency, that's what the minimum wage. We ain't talking about money. That's minimum wage. And white folks know they don't have it, and they know they never let us have it. But what do you do when the old world breaks up? The kingdom has been weighed in the balance, and it has been found wanting. Doesn't add up. The message said, I'm referring to the rule of the people mentioned by Jesus, Allah, and the Holy Quran as being a people who were created or grafted so that they might be tried and ruled in the righteous for 6,000 years. Didn't Jesus tell those Jews, don't be trying to claim no lineage with Abraham, not in the sense of him being your daddy. He gave them credit that they were of Abraham's seed, because there was a mixture when the sons of God saw the daughters of men. So the white man can claim mixture coming down the line, but that's not the father. That's not the beginning of the white race. Jesus said who their beginning was.
That's right.
You are from your father, the devil.
That's right.
Not spook, spirit, or ghost. But then he went on to say, and the works of your father you will do.
Yes, sir.
St. John 8:44.
That's right.
He was a liar
And a murder.
and a murderer
From
the very
From
beginning.
the very beginning.
Not of creation, but what?
It's making.
Since his making.
Yeah.
And not only was he a liar and a murderer from the beginning, but
He abode not in truth.
he never lived in truth.
Right.
Abode is the same word for house.
Right.
He never was housed in truth. Even Yaakov had black germ and brown.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't interested in preserving no black germ.
Mm-hmm.
He was kicked out aside. That's why he made his grafted devil. A man that could house the brown germ only,
Right.
driven to the last stage of his own existence.
That's right.
Out there wouldn't be no life.
Special man.
That was it. So now we're in modern Babylon. The kingdom is falling. It's been raised in the Babylon. A world superpower can't pay people a decent wage so you can have food, clothing, and shelter.
Mm-hmm.
A world superpower that let the roads crumble. Even the Jew boy, was it Franklin Roosevelt? Yeah.
Yeah.
He the one saw it was going down right during World War II, and he put people back to work.
Right.
Building post office, building bridges, building all kinds of
Highway.
highways, everything. So he put money back into circulation. But what happened with the rich man, he didn't die at first, but he wept, according to the book of James. The old rich man wept, because your
That's
gold and your silver
Mm-hmm.
has become cankered. You know what? You didn't put it to use.
That's right.
Because the message said, when they brought out 4 pounds here, and we made all kinds of money for white folk, we still doing it. What they do, what's the gratitude? A bad attitude.
That's right.
In other words, the more you work and make money for white folk, the worse they treat you.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Our people, so teaches the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we love work. In fact, the Bible in the Old Testament described the man that did work in a righteous way. Didn't he call him Job?
That's right.
J-O-B?
That's right.
Same thing as Job.
Mhm.
That's right.
What about Job or Job? What kind of man was he? He was
Righteous
perfect and
Right.
upright.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, ain't nobody perfect and upright but Jesus. Hey, wait a minute, Jesus when they were around him as they talk about. I mean, somebody lied about him being perfect and upright
Mhm.
when they said Job walked and talked
With God.
with God.
Mhm.
But yet the devil comes along to try to test Job. Isn't that what this teacher
That's
talking
right. That
about?
was it.
They said, well, if you would just let me have your righteous servant,
Mm-hmm.
I will make him curse you to your face.
Yeah.
So Job had a whole lot of sickness. He lost his wealth, he lost his cattle, he lost his riches, and he claimed that his wife said, well, if you gotta suffer like that,
She
why don't
was
you
in
just go ahead and
his
curse that God and die?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, no, woman, you sound foolish. But I know a better day is by and by, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our people have always wanted to do what's necessary to maintain creation.
Mm-hmm.
And when we look at the board here, we see on this side, our flag. Red represents sun, the moon in the first quarter, and 1 star represents all the stars. But even when we look at our flag, we are standing on our planet looking out.
Outward. Yeah.
Right. Because it's the vantage point that we have. What does the scripture say about God resting his feet?
That's right.
On
Footstool.
His footstool.
Yeah.
So God's footstool is the earth. His body got to be somewhere close by.
Mhm.
Not beyond the sun and moon and stars,
Mhm.
but on the planet. No. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. And the earth is his footstool.
Mhm.
Brother mentioned heaven. Where's heaven? Genesis said that God called the firmament heaven. Where's the firmament? That's what?
Between.
Between the waters above the
Mhm.
clouds and the land and
Water
the water
below.
below. So we locked in between here. That's the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And we walk around through the atmosphere. Food grows in the atmosphere. Birds fly through the atmosphere.
Mhm.
That's right.
But people live
Can't
in
see.
this part of the atmosphere.
Mhm.
So why would our people think that the lies that white folk tell us through the preacher and everybody else, that we got to go somewhere beyond the sun,
Moon,
the
and
moon, and the stars to get to
to
heaven?
get to heaven.
And even
With no
when a
map.
person deceases, anybody take no jet and shoot them off no sky,
Mm-mm.
they put you in the hearse and take you on over
To
to
the
the cemetery.
cemetery.
And then the pallbearers will do theirs now.
Right.
And where you go to look for the person that you remember? No.
You
get
go
in
back to the
car,
graveyard
go
and
to the
look.
cemetery and put a wreath or something.
That's right.
on that. So why would our people believe all that stuff? Because the message says what? The devil has done all he could in lying to us, so we would refuse to believe the truth and continue to
Mhm.
believe the
There
lie.
you go. That's right.
So, in our conclusion, the fall and breakup of the old world and the breakup of the old world. The history of white folk. Their first 2,000 years were spent in the caves and hillsides of Europe.
Yeah.
And that's the only appointed continent
Mm-hmm.
of Allah for their people. So what are they doing everywhere else then? In other words, they disobeyed
Spreading
what Allah
out.
told them to do. He said, you stay in Europe.
Mhm.
What you doing in America? What you doing in the islands of the Pacific, and Africa, and Asia? All over the place. And in the
Yeah,
wrong
glad
place,
to be.
and still be in the place that was appointed for you to be in. The Elijah Muhammad says, they suffered divine chastisement for the first 2,000 years on the continent of Europe. Why? For their troublemaking and for causing war and bloodshed among the original people.
Mhm.
So we had to give them something that they're going to rule. So Jacob
right.
builds the ladder, so the angels up and come on down and let some who represent white folk
Mhm.
go up. Babylon, we have forgotten about ancient Babylon. We didn't take the language from them, according to our lesson. We took everything from
Everything
the white man except the language. How did he lose the language? Can you envision a wicked man want to use a righteous language? There's a conflict right there.
Yeah.
So if you don't use it, you certainly subject to lose.
That's right.
And the brother mentioned, he up there looking at black people, caveman gun. Why? Because what he had that could have kept him in some kind of communication, even with his own people, he turned it down.
Right.
How did he get a language?
He
Not-
made it up as he go. I
Babel.
guess. That's why he call it Babel.
Thanks to the ancient Babylonians, those who were over there, who were called Phoenicians. They said they were seafaring, they traveled. And the white man has a history that many of them traveled into what's called northern Palestine, up there what they call Israel now, the state of Israel. And they introduced those people, Sumerians, to what? A language system based on what they understood, which was a mixture of what we had as an Arabic system and what they were developing as the Phoenicians. And they started with what you call the
Alphabet.
The alphabet, yeah. See, the Eastern people had characters.
Mm-hmm.
We had
Like
Arab.
hieroglyphics.
Leon,
Yeah.
Chinese, hieroglyph, all these. See, the character is symbol. The characters are symbols that are designed to accommodate highly developed thought processes. The alphabet is a symbol that gives you pronunciation of a letter.
Mm-hmm.
So, who would be ahead of the game when you talk about communication? The one who's already got structured thought processes, or the one who's got to fit them together
Mm-hmm.
to make a word, a sentence, a paragraph,
Yeah.
a page, or whatever. I mean, he's way behind. So, they did it to themselves because we didn't take the language from them. We took everything from them except the language. So now, the people in modern day Babylon, they still refuse all that's necessary in the way of doing right, because you can't do it by nature. But some kingdoms have fallen and they have made a little comeback. Ancient Babylon, they said, was so thoroughly destroyed in some places, you don't even find blades of grass growing out there. And they claim that that kingdom existed somewhere between the Tigris and Euphrates River over there in Iraq, in that area.
Right.
Now modern Babylon, look how low down she is. She's shutting herself down. Canada don't want her to come up there because she has too much corona down here. Don't bring your corona up here. So don't even want to play your sports team up here. And Trump tried to shut everybody else out, except England. He found out England was more corona than some countries he was shutting up. Then they had to shut England up. But now he's talking about his German friends. He's going to take the troops out of Germany and because they ain't paying their fair share. He don't want this, he don't want to be a part of the European Union. Only part he liked is Vladimir Putin and a few other dictators. So this Babylon is shutting itself down from the inside. And the so-called Negro is going on for the ride. But Allah gave us what we need.
That's right.
We don't have to go down with this devil. No. But somehow people choose to. I've read a book I had, it was written back in 1974, 75. And they were talking about the metric system. You know, most of the countries of the world are on metric.
That's right.
Not this place. They get mad with each other. Sometimes mechanics cursing and swearing. Oh, metric system. I want the old English system. You want the ounces, the pounds, and this and that. Not the kilometers and the liters and this and that. Stuff come from around the world. They know about metrics. They move fast based on 10. From China. You mad with China? China. What else? Even what's the little place that they bombed the heck out of?
Japan.
Vietnam. Yeah. Everybody's progressing.
Yeah.
And we would be too if we followed the messenger.
Yeah.
But they still want to drag up on the civil rights.
And the cross.
The cross. Waiting on Jesus. Craziness. Going through the same old crap that our people went through, not after the Civil War. We were more intelligent than that. We built cities in town, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Wilmington, all places across here. But we were into learning education then. But now what they got, it's nothing. And the very thing they did to us is happening to them. They didn't want the messenger to teach in the University of Islam. They didn't want the Muslim children to learn supreme wisdom. And now they got all the schools shut down. They said, well, you might open it back up in a few months. You might not. You may have to go into what they call virtual learning. Tap on your computers and this and that. But the Savior, he worked against all odds, starting with the messenger. He didn't set him down in no schoolhouse and teach him. Mr. Muhammad said, he ran around day and night in the car. That's how he picked up things from the Savior. 3.5 years. Savior taught him so much, he said, I wish you could away and let me get some rest. So I guess that was virtual learning. He was way back then. But he said, I forgot one word when he taught me. So he brought it on for us, and we